Okay, in this video we're going to talk about standards A.1 and A.4c. Your first vocabulary term, when we substitute a number for a variable and then simplify, that is called evaluating. Evaluating. So evaluating means substituting a number for a variable and then simplifying. Okay? We have two examples here for evaluating. We've done the first one for you. So we have x plus y, all in parentheses, squared. And the directions say that we're going to evaluate the expression for x equals 2 and y equals 3. So what that means, so when we evaluate, we substitute a number for a variable, and then we simplify it. So we're going to take 2, and since that's what x equals, we're going to plug it in for the x. And we're going to take negative 3, since that's what y equals, and we're going to plug it in for the y. Okay? So instead of x plus y squared, we're going to have 2 plus negative 3 squared. Okay? Now using order of operations, we need to do the parentheses first, the group. So we're going to have 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. And then after the group, we're going to do the exponent. So negative 1 squared is equal to positive 1. Okay? Now go ahead and pause your video and try number 6. Okay, so you should have 3 times y. Y is negative 3, so we're going to plug in a negative 3. Minus x, which is 2, so we're going to plug in a 2. Squared. Okay, now we need to go in order, so first is a group. We don't have any groups, so we're going to go to exponents. Here we have 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. Okay, next is multiply and divide. So we have a multiplication here. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And then last is add or subtract. And we have a subtraction here. Negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. So for number 6, you should have gotten negative 13. Okay? We have 3 more vocabulary words. A mathematical phrase that contains numbers, variables, or operations. That is called an expression. So an expression is a mathematical phrase that contains numbers, variables, or operations. A mathematical phrase that contains an equal sign is called an equation. A mathematical phrase that contains an equal sign is called an equation. Okay? And a mathematical phrase that contains a less than or greater than symbol instead of an equal sign is called an inequality. So an inequality is a mathematical phrase that contains a less than or greater than symbol instead of an equal sign. Okay, so 3 terms here: expression, equation, and inequality. Okay, we have some examples here that we're going to go through. We've done 10, 12, and 13 for you, and then you're going to try number 11 on your own. So let's talk about 10, 12, and 13. So number 10, we have 2n minus 5 is less than 3. Okay, need to finish it here. We have is less than 3. Okay, here we go. All right. 2n minus 5 is less than 3. So remember that when we use the word less than or more than, we need to switch the order of the 2 terms or the 2 pieces that we have. So remember, when we use less than or more than, we need to switch the order. So that's why the 5 comes first. We say 5 less than the product. Remember, product means multiply, and we're multiplying 2 and n. So the product of 2 and n. So for this first line here, 5 less than the product of 2 and n. We needed to switch the 5 and the 2 in because we used the words less than. Okay? And then this less than symbol, we say all of this is less than 3. Okay? So notice the difference between less than and is less than. If it says less than, then that is because it's a minus sign, and we need to switch the signs. If we say is less than, that means it's our inequality sign. Okay? The same would be for more than. If this were to say more than, then it means we would have a plus here, and we would have switched the order. If this would say is more than, then our symbol would be a greater than sign. Okay? So remember that difference between just less than and is less than. All right, for number 12, we have 2 times the quantity n minus 5 equals 3. Okay, so we're going to start with the product because we're multiplying 2 things together. The 2 things that we're multiplying together is 2 and then this parentheses, n minus 5. So we're going to say the product of 2 and the difference of n and 5. Remember, difference means subtraction. So the product of 2 and the difference of n and 5 is 3. Remember, when we have an equal sign, that is. All right? And number 13, we're going to take these words and write it into an equation. So we have the product. Remember, the product means we're going to multiply 2 things together. And the 2 things that we're multiplying together is 4, and then the sum of a number. Okay, so the 2 things we're multiplying is 4. Here's 4. And the sum of a number. So we need parentheses. All right, we're multiplying the sum of x and 7. That's why we have x plus 7 here. So 4 is not just multiplied by x. This is not the same thing. This says the product of 4 and x. This says the product of 4 and the sum. Okay, so not this one. And then is 3. Remember, is means equals. All right, go ahead and pause your video and try number 11, please. Okay. Back part of your notes here. We're almost finished. Another vocabulary word. An equation that has more than one variable is called a literal equation. A literal equation is an equation that has more than one variable. Okay? So, for 19 and 20, we are going to solve the equation, the literal equation for the indicated variable. We did 20 for you. Okay, we have P equals 2L plus 2W, and we want to solve for W. So, we need to get this W by itself. The first thing we want to do is get rid of 2L. So since we are adding 2L, the opposite of adding is subtracting. We're going to subtract 2L to both sides. Okay, on this side, we cannot cancel anything out. So we just have P minus 2L equals, on this side, 2L minus 2L is 0, and we're left with 2W. Okay, we're still trying to get W by itself. So in order to get rid of this 2, we need to divide by 2 on both sides. When you divide by 2 on both sides, nothing can cancel out here. So we're going to leave it as P minus 2L divided by 2 equals W. So we had 3 letters here, P, L, and W, and we solved for W. Okay? Go ahead and pause your video and try number 19. C equals 2 pi R, solve for R. Okay, when you solve for R, you need to divide by 2 pi. That's going to be R equals 2's cancel, pi's cancel. We have C divided by 2 pi. All right, example 3, last example. Solve the equations for y, then find the value of y for each value of x. All right, we did 24. We have 3x minus 5y equals 9. In order to solve for y, here kind of the same as number 20, we need to get rid of 3x. So opposite of 3x is minus 3x. We're going to subtract that to both sides. Our 3x's cancel. We have negative 5y equals negative 3x plus 9. in order to get rid of our negative 5 here, we need to divide by negative 5. Notice that we're not adding. This did not say negative 5 plus y. If it did, then we would add the 5. But these two, this number and variable here are multiplied, so opposite of multiply is divide. We're going to divide by negative 5, and we're going to get y equals negative 3x plus 9 divided by negative 5. Okay, now this looks messy. Notice that the second part of this question says, then find the value of y for each value of x. So since we are taking each of these three numbers and plugging it in for x, remember this is called evaluating. And even though this looks messy, remember that we can plug it into Desmos and get our answer. All right. So what I did is I plugged in this equation. I plugged in a negative 1 for x. I plugged in a 0 for x. And I plugged in a 1 for x. Those are the three numbers it asked me to evaluate for. And when I used my Desmos calculator, I got, when I plugged in negative 1, the answer was negative 2.4. When I plugged in 0, the answer was negative 1.8. And when I plugged in 1, the answer was negative 1.2. Okay? Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and then find the value of y for each value of x for number 23. Okay, very quickly, when you solve for y here, you should get y equals negative 2x plus 5. That should have been a little bit easier than 24. When you plug in your three values of x, you get negative 2 times negative 1 plus 5. Y equals negative 2 times 0 plus 5. And y equals negative 2 times 3 plus 5. All right, so when you plug in a negative 1, you should get positive 7. When you plug in 0, you should get positive 5. And when you plug in 3, you should get negative 1. All right, thank you for watching.